Hi, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the CertiK Security Leaderboard Showcase. I'm your host, Aaron Leibowitz. As you all know well by now, in this showcase, we host a guest for a live AMA where we discuss their work with CertiK, the Security Leaderboard. We throw in some live questions from you, the viewers. Our goal is to raise the standards of security in the DeFi ecosystem. The Security Leaderboard is a free tool to help you DYOR, found at CertiK.org. Today, I will be joined by Alan Chiu from the OMG team, contributing $1,000 worth of OMG as a prize for the questions that we pick. Please remember to like and subscribe before we jump in here. Now let's head over to CertiK.org and take a look at the OMG listing. So this is what happens when you land at CertiK.org. As you can see, scrolling through the projects, there are many names you know. They have different levels of products employed. And let's take a look at OMG. Today, why don't we dive into what an audit report actually looks like? So when you click into an audit report, you'll see first a table of contents. The summary and the overview are really important for you guys to read to better understand projects. The summary goes over what we covered as well as our understandings of the project. And then in the overview section, actually, let's take a look at that vulnerability analysis. You'll see the issues found and resolutions. This overview and dependencies and privileged functions are also very important. Continuing down, you'll see issues broken out into each their own page, our recommendation, and what the team did to alleviate it. Now let's bring on today's guest, Alan. Hey, Alan, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me, Aaron.
Thrilled to have you here. Why don't you start by introducing yourself and give us a background on OMG as well as Enya?
Sure. I'm Alan Chiu, CEO of Enya.ai, and Enya is the core development partner of OMG Network. We've been operating as one team for the past almost half year now and building a new product called OMGX. And in terms of my personal background, I grew up as an engineer. I jumped into software, built my career really on a number of enterprise software startups and helped bring a couple of them to a successful exit. And now that we have, and then a couple of years ago, we founded Enya.ai, we really started out as a data privacy cryptography company because we really believe in the power of giving control of data back to the individual. And when half a year ago, OMG came to us to partner together and combine our technologies, we really saw this amazing opportunity to take our vision to the next level by combining our cryptographic knowledge and technology that we've built with the expertise of the OMG team that has built up over the years in scaling Ethereum.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So let's start it off with, I think, a question that everyone here has to wonder. How do you guys achieve such low transaction fees compared to L1 ETH?
Well, so let's go back to the first principles, right? When you think about how Ethereum works, every single node has to perform the same kinds of computations to arrive at the exact same state changes all across the network. And that's why it's capacity constrained and it's expensive. So one of the ways to scale is to take the computations off the main chain, perform them in such a way that the results can still be trusted and stored on the main chain. But the heavy lifting is done on what we call layer 2. And that's the approach that we take in our specific implementation. It's based on the great work that's already been done by the Optimism team. And so we fall into the optimistic roll-up category.
Got it. And security and transparency are two things that people frequently worry about with L2 or off-chain movement. Is there anything that you want to touch on in that realm?
Yeah, absolutely. So the whole area of verifying that the computations are conducted correctly, and there's a way if for whatever reason the layer 2 is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, there needs to be a way for the community, for the users to be able to detect any potential fraudulent transactions and be able to revert any of these transactions that are not supposed to happen in the first place. So in the case of an optimistic rollup, there are processes that are called verifiers and fraud proofers that take on this responsibilities. And at the highest level at OMG, our philosophy is to maximize community involvement as much as possible. So the direction we're moving into is to bring our community along in running these verifiers and fraud proofers in catching fraud together as a community, because the more eyes that are watching the layer 2, the more secure it's going to be.
That makes sense. So one of the missions of Enya and I think OMGX is giving users control of their data. It's a very well-respected mission in the DeFi space. I think everyone here can sort of support that goal. A lot of people in the space have moved on to Brave or Opera Coast and other browsers that give back a little bit more of that privacy. And user-owned everything is a driving force of the Web3 revolution. What made this mission important to you?
Well, this mission is super important to us because we have seen the risks of centralizing data around large data lakes or around really centrally controlled entities where the individuals have lost control. Once they've handed over the data, they've lost complete control of what happens to the data afterwards. And that has led to all kinds of security breaches that we keep hearing in the news. Mm-hmm. So to solve this problem, of course, one approach could be you could keep erecting higher walls, thicker walls to protect the centralized data repositories. Mm-hmm. But that's an arms race with the attackers. For sure. And the fundamental way to solve this problem is to not aggregate the data into one central location in the first place. So you don't create this honeypot that is attracting all kinds of attackers. And one of the best ways is to leave data in the individual's hands. We call it self-sovereignty. There are many different terms we can throw at it, but fundamentally, that's the idea. And now that said, you still, as a user, you do want personalized services. You do want to take advantage of the data that you have to see the products and services that you want, right? Which is why we're on this mission is to use technology to help bridge that gap.
That makes a lot of sense. It's a little bit like decentralizing data storage in order to make attacking the whole, not having a centralized repository that can be attacked and gain access to everything at once.
In general, decentralized systems tend to be more resilient.
Mm-hmm. Need quite a bit more effort than attacking just one centralized repository for sure. So OMGX is sort of the deliverable of your partnership with OMG. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And can you dive into what is OMGX and sort of how it differs from any previous products from OMG?
Sure. OMGX is a new layer 2 solution that we've built together. It's EVM compatible. It supports, so if you already have smart contracts that are running on Ethereum main chain, it will take you very little work to migrate to OMGX and start enjoying much lower transaction costs right away. We've launched a public testnet on Rinkeby that you could use today. And we're driving as fast as we can towards mainnet beta. Now, in addition to being EVM compatible, we also have built our own solutions for handling fast exits. So you can certainly still choose to, when you withdraw your funds from OMGX, you can still choose to go through that 7-day window to wait for your withdrawals. Or you can pay a small convenience fee and withdraw your funds almost immediately. That's a distinguishing feature that we built in-house based on our research called Quasar. And in addition to that, we also have a token called OMG that we are going to, that is one of the most widely held tokens in the ecosystem. And the whole OMG community is very excited to participate on DeFi protocols that will be deployed on OMGX. And then very importantly, we're also adding to this powerful platform the ability for smart contracts to invoke code that runs off-chain. You can run them on AWS or other platforms in order to perform computations that are too complex or too expensive to run within a smart contract. And we are calling this capability extensible smart contracts.
Got it. Thank you for that. That's a great description. So why don't we go to some live questions now before jumping back to some of the ones that I had, make sure we cover what the community asked. What effects did ETH 2.0 have in terms of OMG?
I think ETH 2.0 is going to be hugely positive for the whole ecosystem because as we've seen time and again, when the price of a desirable good goes down, demand increases. And we're still in the very, very early days of scaling DeFi, scaling NFTs, and all kinds of applications that can be built on the Ethereum platform. So as ETH 2.0 emerges, it's going to drop the collective cost basis for all kinds of scaling solutions that are built on top of Ethereum. So it's definitely very good news for OMG and for other projects that are building scaling solutions on Ethereum.
That makes sense. Do you think we'll see proof of stake coming anytime soon?
Many people have lost money betting on when that is going to happen. So I'm not going to jump into that game. I'm hoping that it's going to happen sooner rather than later.
Hopefully. I'd love to see it. So has it become a multi-chain L2, Plasma and the OVM rollup of OMGX?
Yes, exactly. So OMG Plasma is still running, is still available for developers that wish to take advantage of the high throughput token transfer capabilities of Plasma, and OMGX is a second chain that we're rolling out.
Very cool. That's the distinction I was looking for. And so how are fees calculated on OMGX? Any estimates as to what fees will look like?
We're still fine-tuning the final fee structure, but in general, it's going to be a function of how much volume we can pack into a certain unit of time, because ultimately we still need to pay ETH in order to store the state roots on the main chain. So there will be some costs involved, and the more transactions there are to spread those costs around, the more savings we can deliver. But we're looking at anywhere between 10x to 50x types of cost savings.
That's awesome. That's really great to hear. And if you swap L2 to L2 cross-chain using Quasar, which L2 side gets the LP fee?
That's a very good question. To be honest, one of the aspects of OMGX that we'd like to also bring up is, remember this high-level philosophical design goal where we would love to have the community involved as much as possible. So over time, as we begin decentralizing the governance of the network, these are the types of decisions that the community will be able to make jointly together as part of that governance. It makes more sense given how widely held the token is, makes more sense for the community to come together and discuss these issues and hash them out, rather than just have a few of us sitting in our offices behind our computers to just make a decision. So that's going to impact all the participants on this network.
For sure, and that's a core pillar of DeFi governance.
Absolutely.
Exactly that involvement from the community. So we've got a live one here in the chat now. What is the benefit of using OMGX over Optimism PBC or Arbitrum?
One of the benefits are many. One of them is you get fast access from day one. You don't have to wait. We are not dependent on partners to deliver that capability. And in addition, our fast exit mechanism is based on a swap-based mechanism backed by liquidity pools. We will be putting in assets to back these pools in the beginning, but we're not stopping there. We're also opening up these pools for any of our community members to stake their tokens and have a cut of the convenience fees that users will be paying to enjoy the fast exit convenience. So this provides, again, going back to this overriding principle of maximizing community involvement, this is another way for the community to help make the network better, and they also get to enjoy a little bit of financial returns from the convenience fees. So that's a huge deal for the community, and that delivers benefits to all the users. And then on top of that, if you're a developer that wants to marry the benefits of decentralization with the power of, for example, machine learning, right? Mm-hmm. Today it's just too expensive to run a machine learning classifier right in a smart contract. But with our extensible smart contract capability, you can invoke a machine learning classifier that's running off-chain and bring the results back into your contract and take advantage of these computer science advances that are happening every day. And now we can start bridging the decentralized blockchain world with the machine learning world, with the secure computation world, with a lot of advanced computational capabilities that until now have been out of reach from smart contract developers.
That's excellent. That's for sure been a major roadblock for other industries that may want to take advantage of blockchain, is that low throughput, that high transaction fee, and what you're solving there definitely can increase adoption. So another question from the chat here. What do you think about the low Ethereum gas fee now? Is it bad for the OMG network? And what about security in the OMG network? What system mechanisms do you implement?
Similar to why we're excited about ETH2, in general, the lower the gas fees, the more folks who will be able to participate in the network. So that's all good, because we're not trying to optimize for how much money we can make off each transaction. What we're trying to optimize for is maximum community involvement. We're trying to grow the movement, have as many people enjoy the benefits of decentralized applications as possible. So low gas fees, that's all great, because regardless of how low the gas fees are on the main chain, when you conduct the same transaction on layer 2, will always be cheaper. So this low cost basis benefits everybody and helps expand the pie for everyone involved.
For sure. That's a great answer there. So you guys use multi-party computation, correct, for your privacy?
We do. That's something that Enya has been focused on for a couple of years now.
Yeah, so I first heard about MPC through Curve and their custodial wallet solution a few years back in maybe 2018 or 19. Can you try to explain to the chat, without getting too technical, what is MPC and why it improves security?
Sure. MPC comes in a lot of different flavors, and there are many different implementations out there. But at the highest level, what MPC is trying to achieve is to enable multiple parties that each party has its own data elements to come together and jointly compute on this data set without revealing their own private data elements to each other. So the benefits are, one, you get to keep the data that you have private to yourself. You're never sharing them with anybody. However, you're still able to discover knowledge that is embedded in this aggregate data set. One very simple example is, so let's say there are 3 people, you're all friends, right? But you're not friends to the point where you're comfortable sharing your salary with each other. But you're curious, like, amongst the 3 of us, who makes the most money? Well, with MPC, that's something that could be done.
Got it. That was a great explanation, actually. Much simpler than the first time it was tried to be explained to me. So I want the chat to remind the chat that, guys, there is $1,000 of OMG up for grabs for the top questions asked today. Go to the CertiK.org Twitter and you will find the rules there. Make sure to submit your questions in the next 13 minutes before we wrap up here. 12 minutes and counting. So could you dive a little bit into your auditing experience with CertiK, why you chose CertiK, and how was the process for you?
It was a great process. So we actually looked at many different audit firms, and we decided to go with CertiK because the CertiK team was very responsive, and the turnaround time was very fast, and the professional, and we went through a number of iterations, going back and forth with their comments. When we made changes, they made comments back, and overall, it resulted in a more secure and better outcome. I mean, the CertiK team didn't identify any severe issues at all. The issues were minor to informational, but our team really appreciated the level of attention to detail and professionalism and responsiveness demonstrated by the CertiK team. So definitely, we come back again.
We'd love to hear that. Big fans of our repeat clients. So a phrase that you guys use is augmenting ETH with more complex computation ability. What does that actually look like? It's hard to imagine some examples of things that can't be done today that will be able to be done using OMGX.
Right. So if you're writing a smart contract today, first of all, you're limited to performing integer operations only. And for cost reasons, you tend to gravitate towards very, very simple computations, because if you try to do the more complex computations you do, the more gas you're going to pay. And when gas is high, that acts as a deterrent. Your product might become cost prohibitive to a lot of users. And where OMGX's Ethereum augmentation capability comes in is in this form called extensible smart contracts, where within a smart contract, you can invoke code that is running elsewhere in the cloud off-chain that performs the more expensive, more complex calculations. They might even be floating point calculations. They might be a consumer lending model that has been seasoned and tested for decades that you want to take advantage of. Or it could be a machine learning classifier that's been trained on millions of images that you want to use. Now you can invoke these much more complex computations and have the results fed back into your smart contract as parameters. And that is a powerful hybrid computation model that combines the power of the decentralized world where your smart contracts run and take advantage of some of the latest advances in software like machine learning and secure computation, and take it and use them from your smart contract. And your goals could be as simple as, look, I just want to save gas and move some of the more complex calculations off chain, and that's fine. But you could also be more ambitious and dream up new applications that are just not possible today if you need to run everything within your smart contract.
Well, I look forward to what the future holds there and the exciting new advancements that we'll see for sure to come.
Yes, likewise. When we put powerful tools in the hands of developers, they always come up with really amazing ideas that we hadn't even dreamed of just yet. We think of ourselves as opening up the platform to as many developers as possible. They don't necessarily even need to be Solidity experts.
For sure. So a question here that I'm not familiar with, so tell me if this is something you can answer. About the MEV. What are the plans around the MEV? Who will get it and why?
So MEV is a sensitive topic that's being hotly debated in the community today. It stands for minor extractable value. At a high level, what it is it's a way for miners to capture value that normally would have gone to participants of the network, but because of the position that they're in, and they have control over how to order transactions, they are able to capture this value in conjunction with those who are bring potentially profitable transactions that if ordered in the right way. And some of these could be front-running bots, for example. There's a school of thought that says, well, MEV is unavoidable, so let's monetize it and then share the spoils with the network, the governance. And the school of thought is, this is theft, and legitimizing theft doesn't change its nature; it's still theft. The way we think about it is, we would much rather find a sustainable revenue model that does not depend on monetizing MEV, because MEV in and of itself is one, we don't know if it's going to be really a sustainable source of revenue to begin with, and two, it feels like rent seeking, where with piggybacking on the activities, normal trading activities of honest participants, and trying to get a cut of the action, a piece of the action, without really delivering a lot of value to them. So where we come down on this is, we would much rather find an alternative revenue model rather than capturing MEV ourselves.
That makes sense, and that seems like a better approach from what you've just told me. So OMG builds extremely efficient apps on top of the Ethereum network. When it comes to network, is there a reason you chose ETH over Binance Smart Chain?
Going back to our ethos of maximizing community participation, believing in the power of decentralization, leaving data in the hands of data ownership in the hands of the individual, everything points to building on the most decentralized ecosystem out there, and that is Ethereum. That's why we chose Ethereum. Now, it also helps that it's also got $70 billion total value locked in the network, depending on which day you're looking at. But there's a lot of activities, huge network effect, and most importantly, it's philosophically aligned with what we believe in, with our core values.
That makes a lot of sense to me. The size and the network effects that come with building on ETH is the sort of first chain aside from Bitcoin are certainly strong. What's on the long-term roadmap for you guys and the strategic vision for OMG?
There's still a lot to be done, and we're just at the starting line, I would say. In addition to building out fast exits and extensible smart contracts, augmenting Ethereum, there's a lot of toolchain support that needs to be built out as well. Again, it has to do with maximizing community involvement and making it as easy as possible for a lot of developers to build on OMGX. One example is our partnership with Web3 API, for example. We really believe in what in the Web3 vision and what the Web3 API team is working on. So we're jointly creating client-side SDKs that are language agnostic, and so that it's we make it as easy as possible for developers to build web applications that interact with OMGX. And as Ethereum itself evolves with different fee structure that's coming online next month, and with ETH2 coming online, it's almost like a living organic ecosystem organism. And OMGX as the layer 2, we are tightly coupled with Ethereum itself. And so we're going to be evolving alongside Ethereum. So there's a lot of work to be done. Ultimately, it's about creating the most powerful, widely adopted, decentralized ecosystem possible.
That's fantastic. I just want to let Ryan in the chat know that Alan gave a great answer to his thoughts on ETH 2.0 and its effects on L2 projects. So make sure you go back and rewatch to get your answer there. So we can see benefits in other scaling solutions, a project known as Matic, for example, and the difference they can make for gas fees and user experience. Do these projects benefit OMG like ETH 2.0 would?
So what's the second part of the question again?
Do scaling solutions like Matic benefit OMG in the similar way that you mentioned ETH 2.0 would?
Well, the relationship is a little different because we're building on Ethereum. OMGX is trust rooted in Ethereum itself. Matic is a different architecture, but I think what Matic has done for the ecosystem overall is bring a lot of new users because of the success they've had in business development, in marketing, and raising awareness. So that's all good. I think that the overall the ecosystem benefits from diversity, benefits from a lot of different options, and ultimately let's let the market decide, let the users decide. It's just like in real world, Disney is not the only creator of theme parks. There are many other options for visitors, and you know what? This is not, and it's not always either or. You can choose to go to Universal Studio today or Disneyland tomorrow, right? For sure. That's a good way to put that. So, question here about privacy is regulatory compliance along with privacy. Do you guys think that you could implement some kind of ID verification to maintain regulatory compliance? Having bad actors or sanctioned states operating on a private network can be a cause of issue. Well, the way we look at it is we're part of the whole decentralized infrastructure on which applications are built. So oftentimes the responsibilities for KYC or verifying the identity of the customers or users falls on the application layer as opposed to the infrastructure layer. So we don't see ourselves getting into the business of providing identity verification services. There are many other projects who've been working on solving these challenges, especially in the decentralized settings for many years, and they're experts at it. We do believe that we provide the most compelling infrastructure to support what they do. And we're really hoping that the different regulatory bodies will, over time, learn to appreciate how the decentralized world functions a little differently than the centralized world, and come up with regulations that are sensible, that protect, that keep us safe. Ultimately, that's what it's about, keeping consumers safe, but at the same time, not prevent innovations from blossoming in the decentralized world. Absolutely, and I think that's a fair take, is that it really does fall on the app layer. And I think from the sort of regulatory stance that governments have taken so far, they would agree with you that it definitely does come down to specific applications and not the infrastructure or the L1 itself. Yeah. Well, I think that's going to be it today. All right, Jeffrey, we'll ask Mountain Creek or Great Adventure for an amusement park of your choice. Oh, amusement park of my choice? Oh, yeah. I'll actually go with specific rides. Some of our community members know that I'm a Star Wars fan, so I'm always partial to Star Wars rides. Got it. All right. Well, Alan, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. To the community, guys, you asked some amazing questions today. Really strong following for OMG. Really does love the tech, so it's nice to see that.
Please remember, like and subscribe, and catch us next week. And yeah, Alan, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. That was fun.
Of
Thanks.
course. Cheers, guys.